My name is Adam, and my life changed forever when I was only 7 years old. At that age, most children worry about toys, school homework, and playing with friends. I was no different. I lived in a small town with my loving parents. My father was a hard-working man who worked as a mechanic, and my mother was a teacher at a local school. We were not rich, but we were happy. Every morning, my mother would wake me up with a gentle smile. She would prepare breakfast while my father got ready for work. In the evenings, we would sit together and share stories about our day. My parents always told me that education was the key to a better future. They dreamed that one day I would become a successful person and make a positive impact on society. One rainy evening, our lives took a tragic turn. My parents had traveled to a nearby city to attend a family event. I stayed at my grandmother's house because I had school the next day. The weather was terrible. Heavy rain covered the roads and visibility was poor. Late that night, my grandmother received a phone call. I remember seeing tears fill her eyes as she listened. Her hands trembled and she could barely speak. I did not understand what had happened. I kept asking her questions, but she remained silent. The next morning, I learned the heartbreaking truth. My parents had been involved in a severe car accident. A truck had lost control on the slippery road and crashed into their vehicle. Both of them died instantly. At first, I refused to believe it. I thought someone was joking or that there had been a mistake. I waited for my parents to come home. Days passed, but they never returned. The reality slowly began to sink in. My world felt empty. The funeral was one of the saddest days of my life. Hundreds of people attended because my parents were respected members of the community. I stood beside my grandmother, holding her hand tightly. Everyone offered condolences, but no words could ease my pain. After their death, I moved permanently into my grandmother's small house. She loved me deeply and did everything she could to care for me. However, life became difficult. My father had been the family's primary source of income, and without him, financial struggles quickly appeared. Many nights, my grandmother skipped meals so I could eat. She never complained, but I noticed her sacrifices. Sometimes I heard her crying quietly after she thought I had fallen asleep. School became challenging. While other children talked about family vacations and weekend activities with their parents, I felt different. Some classmates showed kindness, but others teased me. They called me an orphan and made cruel jokes. Their words hurt deeply. I often returned home feeling angry and alone. There were moments when I wanted to give up on everything. But whenever I felt hopeless, I remembered my parents' dream for me. One day, my grandmother gave me a small wooden box that had belonged to my mother. Inside were letters, photographs, and a diary. Reading those pages changed my life. My mother's diary contained stories about her dreams, struggles, and hopes. One sentence stood out more than anything else. No matter how difficult life becomes, never stop believing in yourself. I read those words repeatedly. They became my source of strength. From that day forward, I decided to work harder than ever before. I focused on my studies and spent hours reading books in the local library. Education became my escape from sadness. As the years passed, I consistently earned excellent grades. My teachers noticed my determination and encouraged me to continue. Some even provided free tutoring when they learned about my situation. Despite these achievements, challenges continued. When I was 14, my grandmother became seriously ill. Her health deteriorated and medical expenses increased. I feared losing the only family member I had left. To help support our household, I started working after school. I delivered newspapers, cleaned shops, and helped neighbors with small tasks. The work was exhausting, but I was proud to contribute. Balancing work and studies was not easy. There were nights when I slept only a few hours, yet I remained committed to my goals. I knew my parents would have wanted me to persevere. At 16, I received a scholarship opportunity. Students from across the region competed for a chance to attend a prestigious college. Winning the scholarship would cover tuition fees and provide financial assistance. The competition was intense. Hundreds of students participated. I spent months preparing for examinations and interviews. Every day, I reminded myself why I was fighting so hard. The day the results were announced, I could barely breathe. My hands shook as I opened the letter. I had won. Tears filled my eyes. For the first time in many years, they were tears of happiness. My grandmother hugged me tightly and said, "Your parents was